Thank you all for being here. So my name is David Morgan. I'm the city manager for the city of Georgetown. This is Chelsea Solomon, our water utilities director. We just wanted to provide an update on where we currently are with our water restrictions and where we are with our stages, and also then be able to answer the questions that you might have. So currently we are in stage 2 water restrictions for the portion of our utility that's kind of the eastern side of our utility, and we're in stage 3 for the western portion of our water utility. The reason we made that decision to move into that strategy was specifically based on the design of our system and to be able to provide as much water as possible to our water utility customers. And so our western portion of our water utility is at a different pressure plane, and our infrastructure that we have there, so water pumps, elevated storage tanks, things of that nature, are different than on the eastern side of our water utility at this time. And so we are needing to stay in stage 3 water restrictions on the western portion of our water utility based on that infrastructure and really frankly based on the temperature outside and the high demand for water consumption. And so right now our system is stable being in this condition, but we are working as much as possible to identify efficiencies within our current system, to work with our regional partners to get additional water or to maximize the efficiency of the ability to get water, and also to work with the 2 projects that we have under construction right now, as we have been, to work to get them online as quickly as possible. All of these things are going to be important for us to get out of stage 3 and back into stage 2 for the western side of our water district. But the most important thing and biggest driver in terms of our ability to be able to get to different phase is the weather condition outside. So the heat conditions, that's the biggest driver that drives consumption. And then the continued efforts by our customers to stay within the water restrictions that we have. I think that kind of summarizes at this point, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Touching on that, we've got some concerns from ETJ customers and those west of Williams Drive. What do you say? They say it's unfair, that they're in stage 3, while those within the city limits are in stage 2.
It's actually not based on the city limits. It's based on the pressure planes. There are residents that are in the city limits that are in stage 3. So it is not based on city limits. I definitely can appreciate the concerns that those customers have, but I can tell you that our effort is to get as many people out of stage 3 as possible. And our efforts to do that, we looked at our system and looked at the pressure planes and where the infrastructure is and based it on that. And we will continue to work with those customers as well as we can. But that was the basis for that decision.
Can you explain more about how the pressure planes affect?
Sure. I may call Lifeline to Chelsea to explain that.
Okay. So the west or the south side of Williams Drive is 1178 pressure plane. The east side or north side is 1065. There's roughly 100-foot differential between those 2 pressure planes. So pumps are designed to pump to each of those separately. So it is purely the one out west that is struggling right now.
Is this just a design flaw, or is it just the one on the west side is older technology or something like that? Why?
Sure. I think I can attempt to address that. So our water system has grown significantly over the last several years. We also had a merger with the Chisholm Trail Water District, and that we have been working to expand plants as well as bring on new plants to provide additional infrastructure to the west. That water treatment capacity is going to more than double for us in the next 3 years with several projects that we have online right now. So we've been on a significant effort to increase infrastructure out west, but those are some of the drivers around that.
Chisholm Trail historically had major problems. Little Monday morning quarterbacking. Was taking on Chisholm Trail, was that the problem? Was it just too big of a bite, too big of a problem, and timing?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's a combination of I don't believe that's the case. We've been on a multi-year plan, multi-million-dollar plan to expand infrastructure for our entire water utility. That doesn't just include portions in the former Chisholm Trail area. That includes portions within what has been our traditional water utility as well. Now, we've been on a multi-year plan. I think the challenge we face right now is extreme weather that we're seeing. The extreme weather we're seeing is driving consumption up significantly, in addition to some of those stress points that we're seeing with being able to get as much water as we'd like from our partners, that we'd like to be able to get, and working with them, coordinating with them for that. And then in addition to a couple of our projects that aren't online that are supposed to be online this summer.
I was just say, you mentioned the projects. What are those projects?
Sure,
How are they going to solve the situation?
Right, well, the two projects that we have the North Lake Water Treatment Expansion Project. So our largest water treatment facility right now is called the North Lake Treatment Plant. It's just west of DB Woods. And we have been working multi-years to expand that by 8.8 million gallons a day. The other project is our Southside Treatment Plant that we've been under rehabilitation for because of the age of it and the infrastructure, making sure that it can produce the water that it needs to produce. And that is, I believe, over 3 million gallons a day in its capacity. So those two projects were scheduled to be done before this summer, before peak demand, and they're not.
And how far along? What caused the delay, and when do you hope to have them online?
I think the causes for the delay there's several variables on that. Some of it's supply chain, some of it's performance of the contractor and the ability to get the project and be able to stay on an appropriate timeline. Both of those projects, the Southside Treatment Plant project is we hope has got the closest ability to get online in August. The North Lake plant, we don't anticipate being online until October.
Last check, I think last press release or last update you guys gave, you were getting 300,000 gallons from Leander when you're supposed to get 1 million. Is that correct? And where are you guys at with how much water you're getting from them and at that part?
It varies so the amount of water we get from Leander varies on a daily basis, and that is not a fault of Leander or fault of the city of Georgetown water utility. Really, it's dependent upon their pressure, the pressure of their system, and the pressure of our system at that time, and how much water can flow between the two utilities. If that makes sense. So, some days we will be getting, up to 900,000 gallons a day, and some days we'll be getting much lower than that, and that is dependent upon the condition of both systems at the time and how much water can flow. We're working on, in coordination with the city of Leander, on additional steps we can take to pull more water, to draw more water, and for that to be consistent. So that's something we're working on in the short term with them, in coordination with them.
Is that Brushy Creek regional?
No, well, they receive water from a couple of different locations. You probably need to work with them to get to understand that better. But we're working with, I think they're working with their overall system. We're working with our overall system.
What is the main water source for Lake Georgetown?
Do you want to answer that?
So we have 3 water supplies. We get water from Lake Georgetown, we get water from Lake Stillhouse, and we have approximately 8 wells that we pull Edwards water from. We also get water from some of our regional partners with City of Round Rock and Leander.
8 regional wells, and so, okay.
We have about 8 Edwards Aquifer wells that we pull from.
Where does most of the water come from?
Most of it comes from the lake. Lake Georgetown and Lake Stillhouse.
Lake Georgetown, Lake Stillhouse.
Combined.
Bottom line, I've seen it worse. Been here, in 07, been here in 8, just here in 3. It's pretty hot too. How do we stand with the system? Is the system holding, or are we going to be in a serious situation in the coming days if these things don't come online? What's the message to the public?
Right. No, I think that's a very good question. So our system is stable at this time. We do not anticipate that we will be moving into more stricter or additional stages. Our goal actually is to find ways to pull out of stage 3 for the western side of our water utility. Right now, our system is holding very steady, and it's through the efforts of our water team, our water staff, of managing our infrastructure very efficiently and working with our regional partners.
With that said, if Southside comes online later on in August, in the next couple of weeks, do you think that we get pulled out of stage 3 for the west side?
I think there are a lot of variables at play in terms of how we move out of stage 3 into stage 2 and back into stage 2, or how we
do read my lips thing?
No, so there's right. So and some of that depends on weather. So there are a lot of variables at play. What we're attempting to do is to try and share with you exactly where we are, what those variables are, but we cannot predict specifically what that future is.
Have you guys noticed a difference since you guys did the restrictions, stage 2 in east and then west stage 3?
Do you want to speak to that?
We have noticed a significant difference. The people on the west side are being very cognizant of the current situation and are doing a really good job of ensuring that they are following the rules and restrictions. And they're hand watering, and that's okay, but they are definitely doing what they're supposed to do to make sure that the system works well.
What kind of enforcement citations or anything like that? What's been going on with that?
We issue around 150 citations a day. We've been working on that all throughout the summer. We do both manual drive-by and we do AMI system.
The area is obviously growing very quickly. What can you say to people who credit this problem as being a result of big housing developments being overly approved?
So in Texas, so our water utility, we're required as state law to be able to serve customers within our water utility and provide that. And that is a common question we get in terms of what if we can just stop issuing building permits. The law doesn't allow us to do that. Just stop issuing building permits. And the reality is that development that's approved today, whether it's at Liberty Hill, or whether it's in Leander, whether it's in Georgetown, those entitlements where they actually turn into homes or development that's demanding water could be 5-7 years in terms of from initial approval to where they come online. So absolutely part of the challenges that we find ourselves in is continued growth in our water system, but we've been on an extremely aggressive schedule to bring on more water capacity, and we've shown to be able to do that. Work with our regional partners like Leander and Round Rock to purchase additional water so that we can manage through the growth that we're experiencing. From my perspective, one of the largest driver of why we're in restrictions today is specifically on the peak demand in our summer, the heat that we're experiencing, and the amount of water that's having to be demanded in order to keep grass green, and that's the biggest challenge that every water utility faces. I think our focus has been, and I think the questions around how our system's holding up is a really important one, because the goal of our water utility and the focus of it is to make sure that we have safe drinking water, and that we have safe pressure to where we can respond to fires and emergency situations. And so those standards are being held through our restrictions.
Can you elaborate more on the timeline and how long you were monitoring conditions before moving forward into stage 3 and what the monitoring looks like?
We monitor conditions of our water utility every day. So that's a 365 days out of the year. That's we're monitoring our system. We not only monitor our water treatment capacity, but we also monitor our wastewater capacity and our different systems. So we've been doing that throughout this summer. This last summer, you may recall that we hit peak water demand earlier than we did this summer, but based on the weather. We had a much hotter June than we did this year, and so therefore we had much more demand on our water system in June than we did last year than we did this year. And so we're tracking weather projections and looking at and with anticipation of what that demand is going to be.
How are the wells holding up, and what's the lifespan on those wells?
You want to answer that?
The wells are holding up well. Like all wells, they will have varying fluctuations with drought, but they're holding up well and they're producing as they're supposed to. We rehab them roughly once every 5 years. We'll pull a well and we'll rehab it. So those are doing really well.
I did a story with you guys a couple of years ago, gosh, with the zebra mussels. And y'all came up with it because the zebra mussels were clogging the intakes. The system that y'all put in place then, is it working, and are y'all having any problems with the zebra mussels restricting intake flows? Go ahead.
The system that we put in to manage zebra mussels is working. We're not seeing a zebra mussel accumulation at all, and it's not restricting any flow.
Go back to the enforcement part of it real quick. Once again, so like a person will drive around, and then will they get a warning, or it's a straight citation, and if so, how much is it? Maybe you can explain a little bit about the process.
The process is the first violation, or the first time that we see it, we issue a courtesy notification that says, hey, we feel that you're watering on the wrong day. And we give that courtesy to all of our customers as a benefit of the doubt that they just did not realize it was on. Subsequent violations are subject to increasing fine amounts, and those are listed in our ordinances and are based on the stage in which they're in.
What kind of price range do we see, just in general?
The what?
What kind of price range do we see in general?
Anywhere between stage 2, I want to say, is $75 to up to maybe $200 each time, depending on how many you've received. Stage 3, it is quite a bit. It is higher than that. I want to say it's around 150, but don't quote me.
Yeah, we can follow
On
up and
that.
give you that information. Yep.
And 150, you've given 150 out, right? You said, is that right?
We will give 150. We have given 150 citations out so far. I do not know if any of them have gone beyond the courtesy and hit the actual amount.
I'm confused because I wrote down 150 citations a day, but
Yes.
a day.
Yes.
So total, since the restrictions kicked in, do you have around about how many citations have been issued?
If you don't have that, we can get
I
that.
don't
We can
have that
follow
off
up.
the top of my head.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry.
We'll work back through Ally.
So with that saying, that's a lot of violations a day.
Mhm.
In just the Georgetown area. What's your message to folks? Come on, work with us?
No, I think that's why the restrictions are in place, because we need to maintain safe drinking water and be able to respond to fires if they occur, and have the adequate amount of water to be able to respond to that. So that is the core purpose of why we have our water supply. So it's critical for people to stay within those restrictions that we have today in order to be able to maintain our system the way it's designed.
And even in stage 3, you can water by hand, can't you?
Yes, stage 3, you can water by hand any day.
Pretty easy.
Have you guys had any complaints from customers from HOAs trying to pressure, watering lawns, or have y'all had any communication with them?
No, we actually, one of the things we do ask is we have been actually asking customers if there is an HOA that has sent them some kind of notice because their grass isn't green, or they're not meeting their covenants and restrictions in their homeowner association, that we're willing to work with that homeowner association directly to be able to explain the situation.
Awesome. And then going back to the contracts with Leander and Round Rock, obviously Leander has been suffering some of the same issues. They went into stage 3 a couple weeks ago. I'm curious, can you just give a little bit of context with that relationship? Like, how long have y'all had contracts with Leander and Round Rock to purchase water?
Sure. Do you have the dates?
So we entered into a contract with the city of Leander in approximately 2020, and those are it's a 7-year contract with a 3-year renewable.
And Round Rock?
And Round Rock, we have been working with Round Rock, since before I got here, and I got here in 2014. And so we've had relationships with Round Rock for numerous decades.
And that's not unique. It's common for, utilities to have interconnect agreements. What that means is interconnection between our water systems. We actually have an interconnect with Liberty Hill as well, to be able to use for emergency purposes. Interconnect with the city of Florence. And so it's very common for us to do that. And then based on the conditions of each of our systems at that time, it's not uncommon to sign different agreements to be able to, again, share those water resources. Because I think it is important to note that water is kind of a regional issue, and we work together to be able to manage that as well as we can.
And speaking of the growth that you spoke to
Mhm.
earlier on a completed question, I saw on the website that the city of Georgetown is not requiring new sod to be put down right now with those new developments. However, I believe the city of Georgetown also has water customers within the city of Leander and city of Liberty Hill limits, where big neighborhoods around that Highway 29, Ronald Reagan corridor are. Do you have any idea of those impacts as well, since they are included in those stage 3 restrictions that might have on those developers?
Yeah, so our water restrictions and stages drought contingency plan applies to all of our water utility. So whether it's in the city of Georgetown or whether because our water utility way it's located is within another community, those restrictions apply. And so we're not going to really highly advise customers not to plant new material.